What's up, everybody, and welcome to my ranking of all 13 Halloween films. Thank you so much, guys, for clicking here. I really do appreciate it. I just want to apologize for taking this long to get this out. Work has been kicking my ass, but I'm here. Let's do it. If you have not checked them out yet, I've reviewed every single one of these things down in the description below. So if you haven't checked them out yet, my reviews for all 13 films are down in the description below, so check those out when you can. Like I said, I will be going over every single one of these movies from worst to best, sharing my thoughts and feelings briefly. So without further ado, let's start with number 13. The worst of the worst, the bottom of the barrel. And yes, if you've watched my series, you know which one this one is going to be. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This one, like the next one on this list, can go screw itself. There's nothing here. Nothing cohesive here to enjoy. It totally negates the awesome ending and the awesomeness that was Halloween 4. They made Jamie a mute. The things they did with Michael Myers was just unforgivable. It was blasphemy. I didn't like Don Cheadle's performance of the character. They got rid of Rachel way too soon, which, again, for those of you who watch my series, everybody knows I loved that character. I loved her as the final girl. They got rid of her too fast in this. It was so disrespectful. And they had the gall to replace her with this whiny, neurotic, unbearable, annoying character in Tina. I have no idea why. Kills were weak, Loomis was a joke, and to top it all off, this was the most boring. There's nothing here to enjoy. There's nothing here to enjoy. There's nothing here, guys. Absolutely nothing. So number 13, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Coming in at number 12 is Halloween Ends, the newest kid on the block. This one was atrocious. When I walked in, I had an open mind. I just didn't like the way that they went with the direction. Now, I'm always up for someone, throwing something new out, throwing something fresh, but I just didn't like the way they handled this. I don't know where the filmmakers' heads was at this time. I hated the direction all around. And spoilers for those of you who haven't watched it yet, skip to the next one because I'm getting into spoilers. I didn't like the fact that Michael wasn't the killer throughout half this movie. And they decided to go with this Corey fellow, which, don't get me wrong, I like the way he acted the part, but I didn't like the story that it involved around him most of the time, and him going mad, and him wanting the mask, and killing these people. You don't really see Michael that much. That's dumb. That's just stupid. They just made Michael as sort of a side character, and it's just one of those throwaway characters, and it's just, you don't do that. They made him sort of like a joke. Plus the whole 4-year gap that involved with the storyline. It's just, why couldn't they just made this one along with the 2018 version and Kills, just make it around the same night? They were originally going to do that. Yet another thing that COVID freaked up for us. Plus, there wasn't that much there with the climax. For a movie marketed as the final showdown between these two iconic characters and Michael and Laurie, it didn't really show that much. It didn't really make that much of an effort to make me feel that something there. It felt like it's just stuff we've already seen before. Now, the climax in H2O, if they would have recreated that in a way, that would have made sense. But just the climax in Halloween Ends, it just didn't feel like there was much there. It didn't feel like it was like much of a payoff to what people went into the theater to pay to see. So, there's that. Other than Laurie Strode, who was actually pretty badass in this, the rest of the movie it doesn't exist. It doesn't really exist to me. Halloween Ends was just a complete mess. So number 12, Halloween Ends. Now that those are out of the way, now that the worst ones are out of the way, the rest of these were kind of tough to get through since a lot of them I can tolerate. Some of them are so bad that they're actually hilarious. I can watch them and just have a good time. So coming in at number 11 is Halloween Resurrection. Now this is one of those films that's actually so bad that it's hilarious. With Busta Rhymes smack talking Michael and drop kicking him, doing karate moves on him, and all these cheesy lines, like out of some 80s action cheesy film. I never liked the found footage angle, but the rest of this movie was actually kind of enjoyable. Again, it's bad, but it's bad to where it's good, to where it's funny and hilarious. I never liked the found footage angle. That was just a stupid ass choice, even though the time of this film's release was where all that was getting known. Still, why put it in a slasher movie? Why put it in a Halloween movie of all things? Because of that, it made the kills not that memorable. Because those dumbass shots just kept on getting in the way. Those dumbass found footage shots. It just took me out of the movie completely. And you got a final girl in Bianca, again, not saying her last name, that just didn't feel like she wanted to be there. It just didn't feel like she had enough gusto. It didn't really show that much care in this character to where I care. So there's that. Plus the killing of Laurie Strode in like the first 5 minutes was just disrespectful. I know it had to happen that way according to the actress herself, but still. It just made the rest of the movie kind of pointless, kind of cash grabbish. It just rendered the rest of the movie kind of pointless. Like I said, I can watch this as one of those cheesy early 2000 cheesy slasher films and just have a good time with it. So number 11, Halloween Resurrection. Coming in at number 10 is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, this is one of those that I never knew whether to like it or hate it. As a kid, I loved it, but as an adult, kind of torn. First of all, I never really cared for the whole puppeteer thing, or this, and the whole Cult of Thorn storyline came in to where these people just control them. They control this evil entity, Michael himself. I never got behind that. Plus the whole Cult of Thorn plotline, which extended a long line of logical issues within itself. I wasn't the biggest fan of Tommy Doyle in this, the way that Paul Rudd played Tommy Doyle in this. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. But I will say that the gore was top-notch, especially at the time of this film's release. That really didn't disappoint. I really liked the carnage. I really like the fact that George P. Wilbur came back. I've always pegged him as one of my favorite Michael Myers. I like the way the mask looks. This is one of my favorite renditions of the mask in this series. The way it was shot, the lighting, the textures, those creepy scenes, especially in the barn scene where Jamie gets killed. Things like that just made this feel like a legit Halloween film. But the rest of the film, it just felt like a jumbled mess, and it didn't really feel complete because they did have a lot of on-set problems. So, in closing, number 10, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Coming in at number 9 is Halloween 2018, or I should say Halloween H4O, like with Halloween H2O. With Halloween 2018, it's sort of a mixed bag with me. It had potential. I did like the fact that they kind of restarted it, that this one is the actual sequel to the original, and that they cancel out all the sequels, and that whole sibling thing, which I could get behind, but it wasn't really that important to me. They dumped all that out. I kind of understood that. They sort of hit the restart button, if you will. It's something that I've warmed up to over the years since it has released. It's something that I can tolerate more, and it's something that doesn't quite piss me off as it used to, especially knowing where this series ended up. It's just one of those that, because of my expectations, I've had time to grieve, and I have time to, process, everything that went down. And it's just one of those that, again, over time, I've grown to love. I've grown to tolerate, and it's just something that I can have fun with. I liked James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers for this particular trilogy. I thought he was pretty cool. I thought he was pretty awesome. I liked the way they shot the movie to where, on his unmasked scenes, to where you still don't see his face. I really did appreciate that. They were very careful on that. What didn't work for me for this particular entry for Halloween 2018 was there's a bunch of dumbass scenes and just points trying to come across as something grand that didn't really feel like it was necessary to be in the film in the first place, like at all. Like, you got this whole thing to where this Zartine character was just a waste. to where they try to peg him as a knockoff Loomis, which there could only be one Loomis. I mean, come on, people. Yeah, I never liked the Zartan character. The whole twist thing that they tried to do at the end with him putting on the mask was just stupid and dumb. Plus, you got a banh mi sandwich scene with these two cops talking about sandwiches. What the hell? Plus, Judy Greer's character, which was so annoying. Not as annoying as Tina from 5, but still, had that whole... The whole world is full of unicorns and rainbows attitude that just, in a movie to where it's dealing with a psychopathic knife-wielding killer, come on, be a little more realistic. There's plenty of potential in this film, just not enough. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate as much as some of the movies in this series, but still. So that's why number 9, Halloween 2018. Coming in at number 8 is Halloween Kills. Now, this one was a little bit more tolerable than the 2018 film. Sure, there was a lot of dialogue and the shtick with the evil dies tonight thing. It just kept on drilling in your head, making it a joke in a way, almost to the point where it rendered the characters as fake, to where not a single character in here just seemed like a real person. They just seemed too ridiculous, too cartoonish, and just not enough there. Oh, and it also doesn't help that you have same characters, that are too stupid to differentiate between a Danny DeVito's physique type character and someone like Michael Myers. I mean, honestly, you get this character that looks like this, and Michael Myers. Anything working there?
You don't get it? You don't get it? You don't get it? You don't get it?
Sure, that was a little rough, but I liked the kills in this. Once again, James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers did it justice. I thought he was a lot more brutal in this. I mean, you name something Kills as its title, it better deliver, and it delivered. The Carnage candy was outstanding. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, you see like 10 people get slaughtered at once. That's how you're supposed to start a Halloween movie, right there. Great Carnage candy. Just the better out of the 2018 trilogy. So number 8 is Halloween Kills. Coming in at number 7 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, I never really had a problem with what Rob Zombie brought to the table. Sure, there was some dialogue and some zombified dialogue that Rob Zombie usually does with all his films. And it was a little rough there, especially in the first act, with the family around the table and William Forsythe's character, showing his mouth off. Certain scenes in there to where I didn't feel like it was necessary. But again, this was a Rob Zombie movie. You expect something like that in a Rob Zombie movie. But the rest of it, starting with the second act with Michael in the hospital, and then, of course, you get into the third act to where you just have a Rob Zombie-fied version, amped up version of the John Carpenter classic. That was actually pretty enjoyable. I actually really enjoyed those parts. Starting with the second half, I can tolerate. The first act, not so much. But the second act on through to the end, hell yeah. Plus you get an awesome Michael Myers played by Tyler Mane. I always thought he was one of the dominant of this series. Rob Zombie's version of Michael Myers was the most brutalist. He's got some great kills here, some pretty gnarly kills. I think Rob Zombie did a pretty good job for what he brought to the table in this franchise. He made what he wanted to make. So number 7, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Coming in at number 6 is Halloween 3, the Season of the Witch. The redheaded stepchild that everybody likes to beat down on. I know. Still, I actually enjoyed this. This was one of those that I never really quite knew what to think of it. Growing up, I was always like, where's Michael Myers? Why isn't Michael Myers in this? But I will admit, this one had some creepy scenes in it. I like the fact that this story took place around the season itself and deals with this witch trying to create world domination. And the fact that he sends out these masks that pretty much kills you if you put it on and watch that commercial. I actually like that. That was a really creepy aspect to it. Plus, you got these drones out there doing his bidding and ripping people's heads off. The kills in here was pretty cool. I mean, it was more of a supernatural element than slasher. But still, it was actually pretty cool. I liked that whole, scenario. But I felt like that if they hadn't marketed it as a Halloween sequel, it would have been more of a classic. But this movie is actually drawing a crowd. It took them like 10, 15 plus years, but this is actually developing a cult following, and rightfully so too. Again, like growing up, yes, it wasn't a Michael Myers movie. He wasn't in it. But as an adult, I can appreciate this a lot more. So number 6, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And I don't care. Coming in at number 5 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Now this is one of those films where it almost stood out to be perfect. Keyword, almost. This is the one where they said, hey, your friendly neighborhood psychopathic killer is back. And in a big way, too. So after the poor reception of 3, of course, they were going to bring back the fan favorite. I'm glad they did. As much as I liked Halloween 3 as its own film, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, did it right. I liked George P. Wilbur as Michael Myers, which is why I said I'm glad that they returned him for 6. Again, he's one of my favorite Michael Myers next to Tyler Mane and James Jude Courtney. You got some great gnarly kills, and we are introduced to Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, who's just a treasure. And the whole mom mentality was done way better in this than Kills. The only thing that downfalls it for me is the mask. Never been a fan of it. Never have, and I never will. This is the one where the whole bad luck stream with the mask started. Ever since this film, like the first 2 was just perfect. But ever since 4, they just had a string of bad luck with the masks. One after another. Some was better than the others, but this one was the bottom of the barrel for the mask for me. I never been a fan of it. I never warmed up to it, and I never will. And I'm sure a lot of you guys say the same thing too. As a whole though, as a whole film, I think Halloween 4 is the better movie, is the better film. So number 5, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Now we're at the last 4 of these things, which is actually the better ones. And it was kind of difficult trying to juggle these to see which one is the best and worst from here on out. So coming in at number 4 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now, as I've said about the first one, about his first film, I never had a problem with what Rob Zombie brought to the table. Now, I can see why a lot of people got upset with his second film of this series. I get why a lot of people are upset. I really do. With that whole white horse thing, which, to be honest, I mean, you're dealing with Michael's head. Who knows what kind of shit is crawling up in there. Let's be realistic here. Delving into Michael's mind and all the madness and craziness that goes in his mind, I actually didn't really mind that. I get it. I get why some people are pissed off at that. Me? I love it. I think this is the better one out of the trilogy. The better one out of the trilogy that came out, especially of Rob Zombie's doing. Because knowing the type of movies that Rob Zombie makes, especially with the dialogue that he always writes, this one really wasn't all that bad. This was a really well-directed movie by Rob Zombie. And it wasn't that bad on the dialogue, other than the first act, where you have Richard Brake's character saying the F word like 15 times before Michael finally gets out and cuts his head off. Other than that, you got a really pretty good Halloween film. Tyler Mane, of course, again, gold. If anything, he was more brutal in this. And the kills were off the chain, off the chart. You get these insert shots of him stabbing someone that, to this day, I have no idea how he was able to get away with that. But again, other than that small piece at the beginning of Richard Brake's character, I think this movie was aces. So number 4 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Coming in at number 3 is Halloween H2O 20 years later. For those of you who have watched my series and have watched my review for Halloween H2O, you know how much I love that movie. I think it was a perfect build-up movie. Granted, there's not that much gore in it, but the tension was so high, and it's one of those movies where you gotta leave it up to your imagination. As much of a gorehound as I am, I think that works. Like, you don't necessarily have to see it every single time. And that's what makes a good tension-building film. And I think this was Jamie Lee Curtis's best. I think this was the peak of what the Laurie Strode character should be. It was perfection. I mean, Ends comes close. Halloween Ends came close for the character. But H2O, she nailed it. It was perfect. And I don't think she could have gotten any more perfect than when she did in H2O, with that toughness and that ready to take action and don't want to take any more bullshit from this guy, from her brother. And the way she stood up to him at the end, the way they had that face off. And it was just epic all around, with her toughness and ready to take action and don't want to take no more bullshit from this guy. And just stands up to Michael, just head on. Again, I just don't think the Laurie Strode character could get any more perfect than what she did in H2O. Like I said, Halloween Ends tried, and they sort of succeeded. By that much. But H2O is always going to be the superior, especially for that character. The only thing I didn't like about it, though, two things, was the mask, that K&B mask where the eyes look like wide and bug-eyed, and you could actually see Michael's eyes like, hey, there you are, you're looking at me. Nice. And Chris Duran played Michael in this. I never really was a fan of him. He slouched too much. He looked a little bit too scrawny. Nah. I mean, no offense to the guy, but I just never really been a big, huge fan of Chris Duran's portrayal of Michael Myers. I just never really been a fan of him. But the film was almost flawless. So number 3, Halloween H2O. Coming in at number 2 is the original Halloween 2, 1981. I thought this one was a perfect follow-up to the original 1978 film. Almost to the point to where you could actually piece that film and this film together as one event. Like literally. And I like how you get more point of view shots from Michael's point of view, which I've always been a fan of ever since the original Halloween, which you get that a little bit in that too, but you get it more in the original Halloween too, where it opens up with this dog barking and you can just see everything from Michael's point of view. I thought that was pretty cool. Great Michael Myers by Dick Warlock. I never had a problem with it, even the zombie-vied way that he walks. I always thought that was really cool. I like the chase scene, especially with the score. That was an awesome score. And you get some pretty gnarly kills here, even more so than the original. This is the one where they really dip their toes in the gore factor. So that was pretty satisfying. The only flaw I have about this, which is very minor, I'm sure they had a perfectly plausible, reasonable explanation for this, but I really wish they would have kept the butcher knife from the original. I mean, what they gave him in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, it just didn't really do him justice. This little scalpel-like type knife that just didn't really look intimidating at all. So I don't know why they chose to go that route. But other than that, great sequel. It's a flawless sequel. So number 2, Halloween 2, 1981. Coming in at number 1, and yes, I know you've already guessed what it is, by default is the original John Carpenter's Halloween. Now this one is flawless. Actually flawless. I was going back and forth whenever I was making this list, but by the time I got to Halloween 2, I just couldn't resist. It had to be said. The original Halloween from John Carpenter is awesome. It was a great build-up, great story about this mental patient, escaping and going after these babysitters and attacking them and killing them. And this guy in a white mask, I mean, this is the one that started it all. All thanks to John freaking Carpenter. Yes, I know I sound like a fanboy. Still, this one was pretty cool. Though, for all you gore hounds, it's not as bloody, it's not as gory. That's why I was kind of going back and forth with this one on where I should put this. But I've got to be honest. I think this one's flawless. I like all the creepy shots of Michael peeking out from the bushes, staring in at windows. That within itself is creepy. Plus you get that nice POV shot, the one that started it all when he was a kid, and he goes and kills his sister. That was awesome. Like, you got the shot of him wearing the clown mask, and that's what you see is like from the eye holes of the clown mask. That was awesome. And he got a great, excellent, awesome Dr. Loomis. The one where he says that line, it sends chills down my spine every time.
I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Again, this is the dominant one. This is the one that started it all. This is the one that got us introduced to Michael Myers, that got us introduced They're great characters like Loomis and Donald Pleasance. And yeah, number 1, Halloween. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed my ranking video of all of these films. I had a fun time doing it. So what is your favorite least, or least the favorite, or vice versa? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm sorry I'm late with this. I hope you enjoyed regardless. Like, subscribe, comment, and share the big 4. And make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing and I can be all up in your face. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.